In 2018, I was laid off, and instead of being sad about it, I leapt at the chance to travel the world for a year, and I actually never went back to my old career. I'm here to show you how you too can turn a layoff into a lifestyle. My name is Shida D, and I help burned out women design lives they love on career breaks and sabbaticals. Subscribe to my channel for all the tips you need to take your own career break. I've coached hundreds of women who want to take career breaks and change their lives as they travel the world, and I can help you too. Now, I don't want you to get laid off, and you probably don't want to get laid off either. So let's put that in our back pocket so we have a plan for it if it happens. But right now, let's talk about the job you actually do have. Let's say that you have a job, but you don't like it. You're unhappy, you're unfulfilled. Or maybe you actually like your job. Maybe it's your dream job, but you want more. Maybe you know you weren't put on this earth just to work until you were too tired to work anymore. What are the alternatives? An amazing alternative for a lot of people, especially burned out workers, is to take a career break. And whether that is a month, a year, or even longer, it really gives you an opportunity to change the outlook you have on your life. And as you already know, your life can change significantly in just 1 year. I've got a question for you. If you've been thinking about a sabbatical, how far away are you from taking it? How many months, how many years down the line do you want to take your career break, your sabbatical, your adult gap year? Put that in the comments and let me know. First things first, figure out whether you can keep your job while you leave to travel for a year, or you leave to stay home for a year or 6 months, or whatever the time frame you want is. Figure out whether you can keep your job or you have to quit your job if you do that. And then the next step is to figure out whether you actually want to keep the job or you're just thinking of holding on to it for safety and security. If it's just safety and security, you already know you can probably get another job just like the job you have now, and you don't need to hold on to it. So I would think about what you are going to give up in order to keep this job. Are you going to have to commit to come back for a certain length of period? A lot of people I coach on a regular basis don't want to do the thing that they were doing when their career break is over. So they leave on a career break. I left on a career break. I was a lawyer. I knew I wanted to come back and be a corporate lawyer again. It's what I'd been doing for a decade. I knew I was going to leave for a year, come back, do the same thing. Within I would say 4 or 5 months of leaving on my career break, I knew I could never do that again. If I had left on a sabbatical and my job was expecting me back, I don't know how I would have balanced those expectations of maybe committing, maybe signing something saying I would come back, I don't know, and then not doing it. But fortunately, I was laid off, so I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. With your career break, you want to start planning early. If you can start planning a year in advance, you will have the time it takes to do the things you need to do. During this year, you want to strike a balance between paying off debt and saving for your year away. You can go really hard at paying off debt or really hard at saving. You can do a mix of them, but you do need to focus on your finances from the time you even consider taking a career break to the time you do it. You want to get things in order so you don't have bills hanging over your head while you're trying to relax and rejuvenate. You want to read your employee manual and make sure that you take advantage of all the benefits you can while you still have this job. So I found out when I was leaving in 2018, because I got notice that I was going to get laid off. So if you know you're going to leave your job, you're in the same place I was. I found out they would pay to freeze my eggs. Lots of reasons they do that. None of them are really about me, but whatever. They would pay to freeze my eggs, and I didn't have to pay anything. Zero deductible. I was 38 at the time, turning 39, I think. I don't remember. That sounds about right. So you bet I froze my eggs. Now, what am I going to do with those frozen eggs? I don't know. But I have them if I ever need them, and it's, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to do that the way they did it. I got absolutely best doctor in the city. I wouldn't have paid for that myself. And so it was really great to take advantage of that before I left. It was, and there are things I left on the table that I didn't know about because they weren't written clearly, like getting a refund from my transportation benefit and things like that. So I want you to go into the manual, study it, learn everything you can learn, but also check and see if there's a section about sabbaticals or any kind of break, and see if you can get a paid leave from work. If you can get a paid leave, that is definitely the best way to go. I definitely have clients who have been surprised because paid leaves were in their employee manuals and no one in the company knew about it because no one in the company was reading the manual. So when my client went to her supervisor, she was like, it says this, and the supervisor was like, I guess it does. I guess you can leave for months at a time. Okay. And my client got to leave without her employer asking any questions, because it said they could take paid leave for any reason. Like 6 months paid leave. No, I'm sorry, 6 months leave, not 6 months paid leave. That would be amazing. I would tell you to leave now if that was the case. But it was 6 months unpaid leave, but she could come back to the same job she had, and she liked her job. So that worked out really well for her. We're not always going to feel the same way about our job. Some people, when they leave, are going to want to leave for good. I fully support that, but I want you to make the choice that's best for you. And I also want you to feel like you can leave even if your employer doesn't support that. So if your employer is like, no, if you want to take a break, you're out of here. I mean, when the world opens back up and you can travel the world for 6 months or a year, isn't that going to be better than whatever job you're doing now? If you don't love your job now, can't you always come back and get another job you don't love? Just think about it. These are options for you. All right, now we get to the good stuff. How to ask for a leave. Even if your employee manual says they do not permit sabbatical leave or career breaks, ask for it anyway. The worst anyone can do is say no. Ask if you know you're going to take it anyway. So if you know, it says no breaks. It explicitly says we will not allow you to go on a sabbatical in your employee manual. It probably doesn't. It's probably silent about them. But if it does say that, and you know that your choices are to take this break with their approval or to quit because you need a break. You are burned out. That's why you're here. You need a break. You want something new in your life. Ask anyway. But if they say no, you're gonna quit, right? Like, you need a break. When you are going to ask, come up with a good pitch, whether that is written out in slides, whether it is a memo, a 1-page document, a 10-page document. Go in and make your boss's job easy for them. Tell them the projects you're going to finish before your break happens. Tell them who is going to replace you and who's going to do the work. If you want to come back to this job, tell them your plan to get out and to come back smoothly without interrupting your coworkers. If someone temporarily needs to be hired, talk about your plan to help hire the temp. Like, do all of the work your boss would have to do. So all they can do is say no if they're a hater. They will have no other reason than being a hater to say no. And you might already know your boss is a hater. There's nothing I can do about that. If you come prepared, if you give it your all, you will know you did all you could to stay in this job, and you were not meant to stay in this job anymore. And if you're burned out and tired, you probably don't need to stay in this job anymore. Pick a departure date. Now you get to decide whether that departure date is your departure from work or your departure from the country. If you're doing both, quitting your job and leaving to go travel, I would say pick your country departure date as your main date. Pick your date, and that's the point where your new future begins. And so you'll have like a before that date, this departure date, and an after that departure date to plan for. Once you have your date, the planning process becomes a lot more concrete and easier to handle. If you want to travel during your break, now's the time to pick your destinations. Figuring out where you want to go will help you figure out how much money you need for the trip. You can use numbeo.com or the Earth Awaits to figure out the cost of living in the cities you want to visit, and that way you can work out a rough budget of what your travels will cost you. And once you have your rough budget, now you have an idea of how much money you're going to need to save for your trip, and now you know how much time you have to pay off debt. I recommend people pay off consumer debt. If you have credit cards, car loans, things like that, Try to pay them off before you go on your trip so you're not worried about money and making money while you travel. I want this to be a break, a true break where you don't have to work, where you're living a life of leisure. And it's hard to do that when those loans are knocking on your door. Now, student loans, I don't care. Keep them, pay them off. If you can't pay, if paying off your student loan means that you have to work the job you hate for 10 more years before you can go, don't do that. Defer those, leave, have the best year possible, and then come back and start paying them off again. And of course, the earlier you start on your budget, the longer you'll have to save and pay off debt. And this is frequently the hardest part for a lot of potential career breakers. And so you really want to put your focus there. How to get the money to work for you. I have a budget template that I created that helps you figure out how much money you're going to have to spend during your career break and before your career break as you get ready. If you want that budget template, you can pick it up at the link in the description. One of the most amazing things about a career break is that you get to choose what your life is like during a break, where you go, what you do during your days. But you also get to make those same choices when the career break is over because you don't have to step right back into your old life unless it's something that you want to do. Do you know what you want your life to look like? If you didn't have a job right now, what would you want to do with your days? How would you want to spend your time? If you already know, let me know in the comments. Like, what would you do if you were on a career break and you didn't have to work and you had leisure time? All of your time was leisure time. How would you fill that time? Hit me up. Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear. Now, I created a sabbatical planning guide with even more tips. So that is going to be available in the comments. It's free. Pick it up. This will help you take the steps you need to take in order to take your career break. It includes 10 concrete steps to cover all your bases and get you ready from just thinking about it, ready to go. Grab it at the link in the description and start planning your career break now. Now, if this video helped you at all, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can get more videos like this to help plan your career break. Hope you're having a great day. I'm Shida D from Shidas on the Loose, and I will see you next time.